Hello everybody, welcome back to the Spoked Wheel YouTube channel. Today we have the first episode of a new series that we're going to do on the channel. And as you can see from the picture currently on the screen, we are going to be playing the Giro Rosa in the Women's World Tour. So obviously one of the biggest weaknesses of Pro Cycling Manager is that the base game has none of the Women's World Tour included whatsoever. Luckily, because of the nature of the game, it's a PC game, there's a community that can create mods. There are people who have put in a lot of work to fix that issue. So I'm going to be using two different mods today. I'm going to put the links to them, to the Steam Workshop links in the description down below if you're interested in checking them out. I'd highly recommend using both these mods if you decide that you want to play as a Women's World Tour team on Pro Cycling Manager 2020. So the first mod is the Women's World Tour 2020 mod, which is created by Badger Barrador and Pess Optimist. And the second one, also created by those two people, is called the Women Mods Masks. So the first one includes all the Women's World Tour teams and races in the game, and then the second one just makes things look a little bit more realistic, so the riders aren't using just the default male rider model, I guess. So together they do a pretty good job of bringing the Women's World Tour to Pro Cycling Manager 2020. And as I said, we're going to be playing the Giro Rosa, the 2020 edition, what it potentially would have looked like had COVID not intervened. So as you can see, there's 10 stages. I'm going to do one stage per video, so there's going to be 10 videos in total in this series. And as we can see, the race starts with a team time trial. And then really the GC is going to be decided by these sort of hilly stages that are sprinkled throughout this race. There's a couple sprint stages as well that are flatter, but really the majority of the action is going to take place in these hills. So we're going to keep that in mind when we are picking our team. And as you can see, thanks to these mods, we have all the jerseys and everything. They look really good. I debated picking Canyon just because of how cool their jersey is, but in the end, the opportunity to play with Annemiek van Vleuten is too good to turn down. Of course, she was leading this race in 2020, I believe, when she crashed out and injured her wrist. So perhaps we'll be able to get her the victory that she might have had if she hadn't been injured during the race. So yeah, we're going to play as Mitchelton-Scott. Obviously, Annemiek van Vleuten is going to be our main rider to try and win the overall with. But we have a couple other good riders as well to support her. Amanda Spratt in particular will be helpful in the stages with a lot of climbing. Georgia Williams and Gracie Elvin will both be very useful in that first stage team time trial. So we're just going to get right into it and pick our team. And yeah, we're going to make a couple changes here. I'm just going to make sure we have the best roster possible. So we get 7 riders. I think Mitchelton-Scott has, or in 2020, had a pretty good mix of riders who can climb and do well in those hilly stages, but also we have some decent time trialists in here as well. So I think the roster, is pretty solid from top to bottom for this race. In terms of equipment and all that, let's make sure that everyone is on the most aero stuff. Yep, looks good. We got the rear wheel, front wheel, and the frames. All are good. Let's see what the magazine is saying. Who do they think is favorites for today? So Canyon is up there. We're up there. That's good. I'm glad we're considered amongst the favorites. Obviously, this stage is important. You want to try and limit our losses as much as possible, but at the same time, I think it would be any sort of time gap could be made up later on in the race. So it's not really the be-all, end-all of this race, but it is important to have a good start, so we're going to go ahead and try to do that. Okay, so we're into this first stage team time trial now. I've simulated ahead so that we are the next team up. So I'm just going to let it run until we start so that I can then edit the effort and things like that. Alright, here we go. So on a team time trial, especially one as short as this, you can just put all your riders on 99 effort pretty much. It's a short enough course at 21.4 kilometers that like the riders are still going to have a little bit of energy left over even on 99 effort. And then once you've done that, what you want to do basically is just find your best time trialist. So obviously our best time trialist is Annemiek van Vleuten, and we're going to have her up around 20 seconds. Basically, you just want your riders who are best at time trials to ride for a higher percentage of the time. So we're going to put Annemiek on 20 seconds. Williams also a very good time trialist. We'll put her up around 16 or 17. Kennedy can do a good time trial. We'll bump her up a little bit too. Amanda Spratt, also a good time trialist. Gracie Elvin is also a good time trialist, so we'll put her up a little bit too. And then that way we have riders like Roberts, who is not the best time trialist. We're going to leave her down on 10 or so. Same thing with Roy. And then our other riders who are, well, actually, yeah. Then our other riders who are better time trialists will work for a higher percentage of the stage, basically. So we're just going to hope that that setup is good enough to get us a decent result. Like I said, I mean, it would be great to win this stage, but I don't think it's necessary in terms of winning the overall race with Van Vleuten. We do want to try and basically limit our losses to some riders who will probably end up being our biggest rivals. Like, for example, Canyon and Bulls Dolmans are two teams that I'm keeping my eye on right now. Bulls Dolmans has Anna van der Breggen, who won this race in 2020, probably our main competition. Canyon SRAM has Cassia Nui-Adoma, who finished second, another very good climber. So those are two riders and teams to watch out for. More so once we get later on into the race, into the stages with a lot of climbing, but I'm keeping an eye on them right now just to see how they're doing, because ideally we want to start without losing too much time to those riders. The less time we have to make up, the better. And there we go. At the first time check, we're in first place, so that's great. Canyon SRAM is on the same time as us, so no real gap there, but we're putting time into every other team that has gone so far. Let's move ahead to the finish. So yeah, Canyon was leading there too. Not really a ton during a team time trial. There's not really a ton to do in terms of like altering what the riders are doing. If you set it up at the start, you kind of just have to let it play out like I'm doing. But we are inside of 5 kilometers to go now. I'd be really happy if we managed to hang on for this win. I didn't necessarily expect it. I knew we had a couple good time trials, but Canyon SRAM, Trek Segafredo is also a very good time trialing team. They might have a shot at, they haven't started yet, I don't think, so they might have a shot at coming along later and beating us, but anything in like the top 5 I would be pretty happy with. I think that would set us up nicely. And okay, we were 4th at the finish, 32 seconds down on Canyon SRAM. So I'm not exactly sure what happened between the first time check and the finish. I don't know if they just went out slower and then picked up the pace. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. I don't think any of our riders ran out of energy or anything like that, but there we go. So we're in 5th right now. Let's just fast forward a little bit to have the other teams finish here. So Trek is 3rd, which bumps us down to 6th. And that looks like that's it. Yeah, okay. So Canyon SRAM takes the win. They put their leader, Cassia Nuyadoma, in a very good spot. You can see she has 80 mountain, 82 hills, so she's going to be a real threat as the race goes on. And we, in the end, lost 32 seconds, which really isn't bad. It's definitely possible to make that up as we go along in the race, especially considering how good Annemiek van Vleuten is, 82 mountain, 82 hills. I think we are still in a pretty solid spot to try and get the overall victory here. Looks like Georgia Williams and Lucy Kennedy did fall off the pace there at the end and lost a couple extra seconds. I didn't notice that because I was too busy looking at the times up in the top right hand corner. So that's my bad. But yeah, I'd say I'm pretty happy with that as a first stage. Kept our losses to under a minute. Not bad at all. So that's going to be it for this first installment. Like I said, I'm going to do one video for each stage in this race, so it will be in the end 10 videos in this series. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the next one comes out. But other than that, I'll be back again soon with stage 2. I think we can take a look at what stage 2 will look like. Yeah, so pretty hilly stage with that Cat 2 climb not far from the finish. I think it probably won't be the decisive GC day, but we could see some action there on that climb. So yeah, next time I'll be back with that stage. Should be exciting. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.